Welcome back to Whisky Whims with me, Stuart. Today we've got a 12-year-old Blair Athol from DS Tayman. It cost around £50 for the bottle. I was given this as a Christmas present, I believe, from my mum and dad. Bottled at 46% ABV, finished in a Bordeaux wine barrique, so red wine. It's got a decent bit of information on there, cask number 1801465, one of 383 bottles, and it's got distilled November 2008 and bottled July 2021. It's got tasting notes on there, but we'll go over them after I've had my own thoughts on it. Yeah, and we'll go through it like usual. We'll go to the nose, the palate, the finish, see if it's a Whisky Win or a Whisky Bin. I had originally done a first look on this whisky for Patreons, so they got to see my initial impressions, and let's just say they weren't that favourable. Currently I'm not really wanting to drink it. So hopefully it's opened up. As you can see, I've just below halfway, or just above halfway, however you look at it. I'm not halfway through it, I'm just below that. So I've had a fair bit about it. It's one that I don't reach for often, but yeah, we'll get down to the nose, the palate. So the nose, now on my first look, I got like a lot of cheese for some reason, and I don't know if that was something to do with the wine. Cheesy. But that's away now. There's definitely no cheese. There's no cheese smell at all. There's definitely citrus fruits. It's very fragrant in that sense. Quite fresh. Yeah, like kind of reminds me of the Starburst or Opal fruits. A little bit of a sweetness from toffee, and these notes do seem quite vague, and I apologise, but it's due to the fact that that is what I'm smelling. I don't think this is a very elaborate whisky with a lot of complexity to it. There's a lot of oak there, a lot of wood. Maybe some, trying to get a little bit more specific, maybe some red berries. Maybe like raspberry. Yeah, I could go with raspberry. Raspberry probably is appropriate here. And maybe also surprisingly some like banana or something, which I wasn't expecting. Wasn't expecting at all. Some tanginess as well. A little bit of tang that reminds me of tomatoes. We'll get down to the palate, see what the palate has to offer. I mean, it's 46% ABV, but it's surprisingly thin, surprisingly, yeah, lacking. It's not as full-bodied as you'd hope for or expect. The finish hasn't imparted too much on it. It's not overpowered or anything, but it's given it a little bit of a dimension to it, but it still seems like it falls quite flat on the palate. I'm gonna go again. Initially quite bitter, and then you get a kind of sudden influx of creaminess, vanilla, possibly like a kind of creamy fudge. Like I said, these are very generic notes because it's not that impressive. It's not, maybe impressive isn't the right, yeah, it's just not that complex. It's not offensive at all. It's not horribly bad. It's just very simplistic. There's, I want to say raspberry ripple to tie in with that fudge, to tie in with that creamy element. I want to go with the creamy raspberry ripple, like kind of ice cream that you get. So a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of raspberry there. Yeah, not too much going on, unfortunately. like I said, quite thin. The finish is short but warming, and the lasting presence is just a woodiness. Yeah, it's nothing spectacular, but it's not horrible. It's not a terrible whiskey. It's just not great. I'm trying to be somewhat diplomatic and on the fence here, but I suppose I can't. It's just not a good whiskey. I want to see their tasting notes because I've struggled with this whiskey. I've struggled from it from the start to here. Like I said, not a bad whiskey, but there's a hell of a lot more Blair Athol out there that's so much better. I don't know if it maybe could have done longer in the red wine, or maybe it could have just done without the red wine. I don't know, but there's just something missing, or something just not quite right. So nose, sweet toffee, ice and sugar, small gentle oak. Small gentle oak. I don't understand. How can it be small? Small. I'm sure that says gentle oak. Small gentle oak. Anyway, and a herbal mintness on the back. There's no mint there whatsoever. God damn the power of suggestion. Maybe there's a touch of mint, but that's clutching at straws, I feel. Ice and sugar, no, I don't think it's that sweet. The palate, cinnamon oats with chunks of white chocolate with a pinch of spicy red wine. Cinnamon, possibly. It is a little bit oaty, I suppose. I could have easily said, like, instead of creamy fudge or raspberry ripple, I could have easily said creamy porridge, but the oats weren't that obvious to me on the first sip round. Finish, a pinch of aniseed. Oh my god, it's the typography on this, it's just not great. Wrapping into a long-lasting dram. A pinch of aniseed wrapping into a long-lasting dram. This doesn't make sense. I don't know how well that'll focus, but I'll need to try and get a snip from the internet or something. I feel like I'm reading this. A pinch of aniseed wrapping into a long-lasting dram. Whatever. Small gentle oak. Small gentle oak. Yeah, not one for me, unfortunately. Not on the tasting notes I'm getting. So we'll get down to my conclusion anyway. See if it's a whiskey win or a whiskey bin. So would I buy it again? No. I didn't buy it initially. It's my mum and dad, and I still thank them for it because it's let me experience a new independent bottler and a kind of unique Blair Athol. Would I recommend it? No. Also no. I just no. I don't think it's that. No. I don't know what else to say. Sorry, pardon me. And do I think it's worth it? The price isn't bad. Like on paper, 46% ABV. It's a Blair Athol. It's 12-year-old. £50 for that. You can't go to say that it's not really worth that on paper. Looking at it, but then after trying it, I don't think it's worth it either. And I feel really bad. So that's 0 out of 3. That's doesn't happen often, and I do feel really bad. But I'm just not enjoying it. And I think like I said, there's a lot more Blair Athol out there that's a lot better. It's not a bad whiskey. Maybe it could be a 1 out of 3. Maybe I could recommend it. Like, you could try it, but it's just not sitting right with me. I think it's very thin, very one-dimensional. There's no complexity to it. It's not full-bodied. It's not gripping in the mouth. It doesn't create that mouth feel. You could maybe give it a little bit of brownie points if it had a little bit better of a mouth feel. But the fact that it doesn't, and the fact that it's quite simplistic, yeah, it's just a little disappointing. I reckon I would try more of DS Tayman stuff, but this is slightly put me off. But I'd happily go in. I wouldn't buy another bottle from them. I'd happily go to a whiskey bar or whatever and try a dram at the pub. or at the bar rather than actually buy a full bottle, because this has kind of tainted it a little bit. So yeah, it was a 0 out of 3, unfortunately. Like I said, it didn't happen a lot, but this one's just, like I say, from start to where I am now, it's just not sat right with me. So it's a whiskey bin. I hope you've enjoyed the very negative review. I've been Stuart, this has been Whisky Whims. I'll see you later.